So as I was saying before we got interrupted, now, so the interest would be equal to, remember now, our principal would be 5,000. All right, so as I was saying, the principal would be 5,000. And our rate would be 20%. And our time would be 2 years. Now, it is important to note that time is always measured in years. So to calculate our interest now, we just plug these values in the formula. So we would have 5,000 times 20 times 2 years all over 100. And then zeros above cancel with zeros below. So you can cancel zeros above with zeros below. And then now you would have 50 times 20 give you 1,000 times 2 give you $2,000. All right. So that would be your interest. So your interest would be $2,000 after 2 years. All right. Everybody's good with that? Everybody see how the formula works? Pretty straightforward. Any question? All right. So let me clear what we have. All right. Now, there are times, however, when we may have to rearrange this formula based on what is being asked for. Now, the thing is about a formula, it is always arranged such that you have one unknown on one side of the equation and everything else on the other side. That's how formulas work. You always have one unknown by itself on one side of the equation, usually on the left-hand side. Now, when we have an unknown by itself on one side of the equation, that unknown by itself is referred to as the subject of the formula. So the subject is that unknown, which is by itself on one side of the equation. Now, it can be on the right or it can be on the left. But as a practice, we practice to keep the subject on the left side of the formula, all right? However, if you do your calculation and it is on the right side, all you need to do is just to simply flip around the equation so that you now put the subject on the left and the calculation on the right. All right, now what you notice here though, is that in addition to the interest formula, we have 3 other formulas. Well, to pronounce that in the correct way, we say when we're referring to more than one formula, we call them formulae. All right, so we have 3 other formulae. And this formulae here is when we are trying to find the principal. Now, if we are trying to find the principal, it means that we would know the interest, we would know the rate, and the time, all right? So generally, the formula is working based on the one that you're trying to find. So the others you would have known from the question. So all these three formulas, they are derived from this original simple interest formula. And sometimes it is good to know how to derive them, because sometimes we don't, you see, sometimes we can rely on our memory to remember the formula, but should in case you cannot remember the formula, you can derive them. So I'm going to take this time out to show you how you can derive your formula. Now, as I said before, the formula is derived from this first formula, the one which is the prime formula of all of them. So the interest formula is PTR over 100, or PRT over 100, where you know P is the principal, R is the rate, T is the time. Now, should in case we are given a question and we want to find the principal and we don't know the formula, we can derive it from the interest formula. How we do that? To make P the subject of this formula, it means that everything on the side of P, we want to get them on the other side. All right, so on the right side of the equation, we notice that P is surrounded by R and T, and below we have 100. So if P is to be by itself, the RT and 100 will have to be moved to the other side of the formula. Now, to do that, we employ a method that we call transposing the formula. I'm not going to go into any details as to how the transposing formula goes, because there's a whole topic on that, which we'll be dealing with later on. But in the process of transposing, what we try to do is to look at the things that surrounding the unknown that we're trying to make the subject. In this case, we are trying to make P the subject. So we look at everything else surrounding the P, and then now try to decide what operation is being done by these things surrounding the P. So the 100 here, what operation is the 100 doing on the right-hand side? Somebody can tell me? What is the 100 doing in this case in terms of an operation?
Dividing, sir.
It is dividing. Now, to move the 100 on to the other side, you're simply going to move it to the other side and do the opposite of the operation that it is doing on the right. So if it is dividing on the right, if we move it to the left, what we should do?
Multiply.
Multiply. So here we would now move this 100 to the left, and so we're going to multiply by I. So here we're going to have I times 100, which will give us 100I. All right, so having done that, we still have remaining on this side, P, R, and T. Now, what else do we need to move from beside the P?
RT, sir.
All right, what operation is the R and T doing on the right-hand side?
Multiplying.
So they are multiplying the P. So if they're multiplying on the right-hand side, if we move them on the left, what we're going to do?
Divide. Use the RT to divide both sides.
Right, so in essence, you're really dividing both sides, but if you think of it as a shortcut, you can say you're moving the RT to the left-hand side, and you're doing the opposite of what it is being doing, which is what it is doing on the right-hand side, which is to, the opposite of multiply is to divide. So when we do that, we're simply going to have 100i divided by RT. And now on the right-hand side, we are just left with P. Now P is itself on one side of the equation. So now P is the subject. Now, if you want to write it in the conventional way, how we write subjects, we generally keep them on the left-hand side. All we need to do here is just flip around the equation, put the P on the, and then what is on the other side, we put it on the right. So we would have P equal 100i over RT. Is that clear to everyone?
Yeah.
Is that clear, guys? Any question?
Sorry, can you go back over, sir?
All right, where did I lose you, Miss Green?
Sir, with the interpreting, sir, with the multiplication and the division part.
Okay, so all I'm saying is that when we're trying to make any of the unknown the subject, everything around that unknown must go to the other side. And in order to do that, we do one at a time what is surrounding the P. So first we get rid of what is dividing first, but when we move it to the other side, we are going to, if it is dividing on the right, we move it to the left and we are going to multiply. So we get this. Now, what remains to remove is the R and the T, but the R and T now, the operation that they're doing is they are multiplying the P. So if they are multiplying on the right, you need to move it on the left-hand side and divide by them. So we move the R and T over here and we divide the 100i by it. And once we have done that, we have P remaining by itself on the right-hand side. Now P is the subject. But generally, when we write the subject, we don't keep it on the right-hand side of the equation. We generally move it to the left side. So in order to get it to the left side, we flip around the equation. So in other words, this P on the right, on the left, sorry, this P now on the right, we just bring it on the left. And all of this on the left, we just bring it on the right. We just flip it around, like we spin it right round. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. So with that said, it shouldn't be difficult for you to do the others in the same way because they are both, the others are done in exactly the same way. So should in case you're unable to remember the other formulas that are derived from the simple interest formula, you can derive them. Now, if you are able to remember them, then you don't need to derive anything. And if you look at all the formula, they're pretty much easy to remember. Now, all of them have 100i on the right-hand side in the numerator. Everybody see that? Everybody?
Yes.
All of them have 100i in the numerator. So that's something common among them. What is different is their denominator. So if you're finding P, RT must be in the denominator. So P, you would have RT down below. If you're finding R, then PT must be down below. And if you're finding T, then PR must be below. So if you can look at them in that way and use that as a means of remembering it, then you won't need to derive it. So whichever works for you, whether deriving it or memorizing the formulas. But in whatever way, you might need to know some way how to derive or remember the formula. Because oftentimes the questions don't only ask for interest, sometimes they ask for principal, sometimes they ask for rate, sometimes they ask for time. Is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So if
sir.
you're clear on that, now let us move. All right, so here's a question. Can you just quickly calculate this? It's pretty straightforward. Calculate based on what they're asked here. All right, so they say find the simple interest on $500 borrowed for 4 years at a rate of 11% per annum. And remember now the word annum here means year. So per annum means per year. All right, do the calculation and tell me what you get. Whenever you're through, just raise your hand and be prepared to walk us through what you got for your answer. All right, so who's taking the floor? Ms. Clark, go ahead.
All right, sir, what I did, I put, all right, 500 times 11 times 4 over 100.
Okay. And it is based on the simple interest formula. So the
Yes.
formula, so most time when you're doing these questions, what is good for you to do is to first state the formula that you're going to use and list the values that you get for the different parts of the formula. So here we know the principal is 500, we know the rate is 11%, and the time is 4 years. So now the interest is what we're trying to find, but we're using the simple interest formula. So we now substitute for these values in the formula. And the word substitute here, I hope everybody understand what substitute means. It means that we're replacing the letters with the values given to them in terms of the numbers. Is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So for the P, we replace it with 500, R, we replace it with 11, and T, we replace it with 4. So when we do that, we would get I equal to 500 times 11 times 4 divided by 100. Now we can go ahead, do the calculation, cancel below, zeros with zeros above. So, I mean, you could easily well work this with your calculator. So you'd multiply 5 times 11 times 4, which give you 220. Now, if you don't have a calculator, you could apply what you know from the commutative law. So the easiest way you would multiply this, you could multiply 5 times 4 give you 20. And so you would know that you now multiply 20 by 11. Now, if you just block out the 0, then 2 times 11 give you 22. And then now you just add back the 0. And so you get 220. Is that clear, guys? Any
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
All right. All right, so here we have another one. Go ahead and do the same and see what you get in terms of your calculation. Raise your hand when you're through. Be prepared to walk me through the question. All right, Mr. Gio, I see your hand is up. Could you just walk us through the question and tell me what you get?
Okay. So the formula will be T equal. So first I subtract the.
This what you have. This what,
Okay. First I subtract the 784 from the 700 and leave 84.
so you get your interest to be that.
Yes, sir. And then now I use T equal.
What else you identify from the question?
All along will it take for reach
Yeah, but you need
784.
to list what you have in terms of the question. What is given in the question? You know the principal and you know the rate. So you just list those, all right?
At the time, sir.
So now what we want to find is the time.
The time.
What you have. You need to list what you have so that the examiner can see what it is that you're extracting from the question and what you're going to put in the formula. All right, set here?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead now.
So I have T equal 100 times 84.
All right, so that's a formula.
Yes, sir.
I often recommend my students just to state the formula. without
Yes, sir.
anything in it. When you state the formula, there are times when they will give you 1 month to state the formula because you would have demonstrated knowledge, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
then now you would have substitute the value where you have the unknown. So I would be replaced with 84, R would be
Yes, sir.
with 11, and P would be replaced with 700. And just by doing this calculation, cancel zeros below, zeros above, and 4 into itself goes 1, 4 into 8 goes 2, 4 into 4 goes 1. So that's 21, 7 into itself goes 1, 7 into 21 goes 3. We multiply what remain. So you only have 3 times 1 in the numerator over 1, which is the same as 3. Now, T here is time in terms of years. So even though I don't have them written here, I would like you to put what unit you think is appropriate. So in this case, you would have to put years because that they're measuring time in years. All right, Mr. Giovanni. Is that clear to everyone? Let me see your hands. All right.
Sorry, can you go back over the last part?
All right, the last part as in the calculation of the formula.
Yes, sir.
All right, so but you see how we substitute these values for I, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so the calculation would be, we cancel above what we can cancel below with what is above. So zeros above will cancel with these 2 zeros below. You see that so far, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, if you notice, 4 can go into 84. 84, the 8 here can be divided by 4, and the 4 can divide by 4. So clearly 4 can go into it. So 4 into 8, 2 times. And then 4 into itself goes 1. So 4 into 84 goes 21 times. Follow so far?
Yes, sir.
Now we have a 7 down here that also can be canceled with the 21. 7 into itself goes 1. 7 into 21 goes 3 times. All right, so everything is canceled now. What we have remaining above is just 1 times 3. So 1 times 3 will give you 3. And down here we'd have 1 times 1. Remember that this 4 was canceled out. So 1 times 1 will just give us back 1, right? And 3 over 1 is the same as just 3. But because we are finding T, we should know that T refers to time. So in our answer, we just put what we measure in time, and we measure in time in terms of years. So you just put down YRS for years. That's a unit for time.
Okay, sir.
Okay. All right, everybody is good with that. All right, moving along. So here now, we're going to be looking at commission. Anybody knows what commission is? You have ever heard the word commission before? Anybody? Ms. Wilson, help us out. Are you there, Ms. Wilson?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
can you tell us what commission is?
Sir, I'm not sure. You know, the only time I hear about commission is from persons who work at the call center, you know, and they speak of it like an increase. So I don't know.
Okay, anybody else here know what commission is about? Ms. Travia, I think I saw you were about, you were making an attempt to say something. All right, Ms. Lang, Ms. Malika. Anything about commission? Ms. Malika Lang. All right, Ms. Scott, know anything about commission?
No, sir.
All right, Miss,
Me, sir.
go ahead. So, Mr. Giovanni.
I would say commission is a small percentage of the total value of the goods which are sold.
All right, Ms. Shea, you want to add something to what Mr. Giovanni has said?
Sir, commission is like a percentage.
All right, it's like a percentage. Both of you are on the right track, but it's a little vague because you don't really state what commission is for. All right, so commission is a percentage of goods that a person sell. Like for instance, if you're a salesperson and you're selling goods for a company, they will offer you a percentage based on how much good you have sold. So let's say that if you sell goods costing $5,000, then the company may offer you like say a 20% commission, meaning that you get 20% of the goods that you sold. So that goes back to the person doing the selling. Now, oftentimes when an employer offers commission, it is a means of encouraging you to sell more stuff, because your commission, the size of your commission based on the size of how much goods you sell. So the more goods you sell, it means that your commission will be larger, all right? And so sometimes you get a basic salary, meaning that if you don't sell any goods, you're still going to get a basic salary. And then, so you get a basic pay plus commission. So you might get, say, $5,000 a week, but whenever time you sell goods valuing like, say, $1,000, you get 10% of that from the goods, and you add that to what you would normally get. You add that to your $5,000. So it's a means of kind of increasing your pay. So you will find that people will generally work harder to make a sale or even to compete with their counterparts, because a company may have more than one person selling the same thing, and the one who sell the most get the most commission. Is that clear to everybody? What commission is up?
Yes, sir.
All right, so shop assistants, salesmen, and the representatives are sometimes paid commission in addition to their basic wage. A commission is usually a small percentage of the total value of the goods which they have sold. So, as I mentioned before, you would have gotten a wage that is different from a commission. Now you have some people in the hotel industry. They would probably get tip when tourists come in, they get tip, and then they would have the tip for their own purposes. But what happened over time, the hotel kind of let them pool all the tip that they get. Instead of them take the tip for themselves, the hotel collect the tip. And then now when it reaches a certain amount, then the hotel pays back that certain amount of it in what they call gratuity. All right. So it's kind of a similar thing to commission, but it's a little different, because generally when you get tip, it's not based on how much percentage of sale or anything. It really based on the kind of service that you give to the customer, and the customer generally bless you with whatever amount they use, their own discretion. All right, so so calculating commission, what we do, just like any other percentage, commission is a percentage on the goods which are sold. All right. So here a salesman is paid a commission of 2.5% on the value of the goods which he has sold. Calculate the amount of his commission if he sells good to the value of 4,100 during a certain week. All right, go ahead and calculate the commission, students. That is pretty straightforward. You should be able to do that and give me an answer. Go ahead, no longer than 2 minutes to do that. Let's raise your hand and give me the answer. Anybody? You're taking a rather long time.
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Giovanni. What you get for the commission?
All right, so the first thing I did was convert the 2.5% into 2 point, is the same as 2.5.
Use a calculator.